There's a saying that I like, it's one thing to like stop and smell the roses, but sometimes you just got to realize the flowers are growing. I made a commitment to myself a couple of years ago that it's my responsibility to be the best version of myself. Mm-hmm. To have control, real control, is to give up all control. I think that every business owner should be looking at what their competition, what people in other industries are doing and get inspired. Steal like an artist.
Mm-hmm. Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today, we're getting IVs during our podcast with Dave Carroll from Dope Marketing.
What up?
Dave, I want to talk to you about wellness. I want to talk to you about personal challenges, New Year goals, and adventures. And I know that you have some thoughts, been setting goals and stuff like that. Do you set goals during the New Year?
I was a big guy on resolutions in a previous chapter in my life.
Yeah.
Now I've taken some advice from a friend of mine. Instead of like one New Year's resolution, I'll try to do like, identify the things I want to do. I want to drink more water. I want to eat better. I want to put my phone away at home. And I try to go to more of that like, it takes 100 days to develop a habit type of mindset. So what I've done with my goals this year for like my personal stuff is I just broke them down quarterly. Mm-hmm. And then almost like the bite-sized stuff on your to-do list that's a little bit more achievable.
Yes.
I've always felt like the resolution go to like the gym's packed the first week of January. Now you're like, oh, I fucked that off. My resolution's over. Yeah. I like wins. Yeah. I like stuff I can count. And so I think going to something like a goal is an elephant. How can we chop this down into bites where we feel good about like accomplishing things? Yeah. So bite-sized.
And the reason I want to talk about the wellness stuff and why we're doing this for fun during it. And by the way, thank you, Liseth from Dynamic Drips, who's here with us, who's doing this with us, and I appreciate that very, very much. It's kind of a weird thing to do, but we like doing weird things. Wellness stuff. Like you and I have... I think we did a 15-minute cold plunge one time.
That was kind of dumb of us.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really like
the benefits kind of stop after that, but we did.
But it was fun.
It was fun.
And like we've done some other crazy stuff. So like, what are some other besides cold plunging and IVs? What are some other like wellness things that you think actually are sweet?
I like grounding.
Okay.
We got a grounding mat in our room now.
Yeah.
What
is that concept, by the way? It's like essentially like attached, like trying to get your
body is full of electricity.
Yeah.
And the earth is a reset. Like anything from the earth is good.
Yeah.
And so with grounding, you're taking the energy from your body and resetting it with the negative energy from the earth, zeroing it out.
Yeah.
So grounding will allow like a reset in your body from natural things.
Can you rate these things from like most likely to be real to,
so
to
here's
least
the
likely
thing.
to be real?
So you got to go with like anything else in life. It's like, how does it make you feel?
Yeah.
So a placebo can work wonders if it's in your head and it's doing something positive.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's like you want to get really hippie woo-woo with it. It's your energy, right?
Yeah.
Are you putting out positive or acting like I'm still getting something? Are you putting positive or negative energy out in the world? And I think that in ranking the different wellness stuff, it would be just like if you went to the doctor and they prescribed you 3 medications at once and you're like, well, which one of these things is fucking working?
Yeah.
Just like goals. If you take something in like a bite-sized chunk and just see like, how does it make you feel?
Yeah.
How is it making you operate?
Because I'm a big vitamins guy, for instance. Like I'm always like, my wife hates, like her makeup is my vitamins. Like I'm like, she spends a lot on that. I spend a lot on this.
Yeah.
And I buy different things and then you figure out which one's like, because you're isolating them for a period, like for a week or two, sitting there taking one thing and like, how do I feel afterwards?
Sure.
We might as well talk about this real briefly. Like
this is one of them. This is on the list for sure.
NAD. So NAD drip.
I have an NAD story.
Okay.
So when I go out of town, I like to find somewhere cool to go on a run. And then I like to try to find whether it's a sauna, cold plunge, IV place, just something that's in that city that I haven't experienced before. And I remember I was in Austin. This is around 3 years ago when I started my wellness journey. And I went to this place and there was a woman that was doing the IV stuff. I'm like, okay, you got this stuff on this menu. What do you got in that bag over there that's not on the menu? She's like, have you heard of NAD? I was like, I can't even spell that. What are we talking about? And we got into a conversation around like what NAD is and what it does. And this is a great example, Tim, of something that's like, okay, you do this, what does it do for you? And I can talk through the benefits. And it's like, well, what if you stop doing it or get out of your cycle of it? It's not like if I didn't get an NAD infusion, or I'll like self-administer it a lot, is like, I'm gonna feel it tomorrow that I didn't do it. But as I've gone through the years, like with anything, whether it's taking supplements or vitamins or working out or eating certain stuff or whatever, I can tell you for me, the NAD, if I don't do it after like a couple weeks, I just operate at a lower level.
How old are you?
Stuff. I'll be 40 at the end of this year.
Oh yeah, me too. My question to you is about the TRT thing, because a lot of I know that you're not on it, or are
Dude,
you?
I'm a sitting 950. I'm good.
Okay.
Like,
okay, I don't know what that means.
from the professional,
Yeah.
I don't my testosterone
Yeah.
for my age, and I think a lot of it is because of how I live now, is high.
I just got all the blood tests and all the fluid tests and stuff like that, and so I'm very curious how that all comes back. But a lot of the entrepreneurs, you know all the people. There's like all these entrepreneurs, the guys that are all muscular and like on stages and shit that we know. We know a bunch of these dudes.
Yeah.
And so many of them, like a lot of people are very gung-ho. And they're, a little bit, usually later 40s. And there is a point at which that might make sense. I'm just curious how you feel about all that.
I feel that everyone should do everything to make them feel better. I feel like everyone should smoke weed behind their wall with their binary spouse. Like, be happy. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to this type of stuff, it's easy for those of you that have kids.
Yeah.
It's easy to be influenced by what others are doing. Like, that person's successful. What are they doing?
Yeah, TRT. It's time.
I look at the same stuff. When I do research about the whoever you look up to, right? The Elon Musks, the Zuckerbergs, the people, I like to just know, like, okay.
I think Zuckerberg is on some TRT now. Have you seen
Zuckerberg's on?
Pull it up. Pull up before and after Zuckerberg.
Stud fluid, whatever. Look at him 5 years ago, and right now he's got the juice, dude.
It is crazy. Look at this. The before and after.
The second,
he looks like Data from Star Trek before, and now he looks like some swaggy, like...
Zuck is a stud. Look at that dude. Look at that.
It's hilarious. So, and there's been, because he had an injury on his leg.
Well,
and so a lot of people are saying that he went and got TRT on that.
Well, dude, if you get TRT, you just don't turn into a stud muffin.
Well, he did something. What is that guy on?
So, if it specifically with TRT or any testosterone therapy, I'm no doctor. But the advice that a medical professional would probably give you is go get your blood work done, see where your levels are right now. I know people our age, and usually it's guys doing the TRT therapy. I think women do it for certain reasons. But like, as you get closer to that magic 40 number, your testosterone levels drop as you get older. I've talked to friends that are mid-30s, that their T levels are at 200-300. If you have lower testosterone, medical professionals will tell you probably have lower energy. You're probably a little bit more shaped like that purple dude from McDonald's than someone who's in shape. And if you have the want or
what is that guy's name?
Grimace.
We got a Grimace reference in here. The podcast is getting going.
Watch out. We're getting serious. If you don't want to look like Grimace and you have low T, you probably could benefit. But the thing is, it's not like you just do any type of therapy, testosterone, NAD, and you're just like, I got it together. Yeah. It's all the other parts of it. I think just like business, just like life, there are components. It's like the puzzle that adds up to your definition of success.
And working out, sleep being big ones.
Yeah, man. And
there's a lot of these people but you have to layer on, if you were ever to do these things, you're layering it on of hopefully you have a great sleep schedule and hopefully you've got a solid workout schedule. let's dive into that real quick just to like cover that base. What are you doing on workouts right now? And do you have any push at the beginning of the new year or anything like that?
I was very fortunate and blessed to be in a spot that my habits rolled over into the new year. So it wasn't like a training thing for me.
You don't have a trainer or anything like that?
I've gone in phases where I have a personal trainer, but I treat a personal trainer like a business coach. I probably don't need you forever. Depending on where I'm at, there are certain things I'm trying to learn that I'll defer to an expert to. So I'll try to strength train 2 to 3 times a week, and I really like cardio. I really like running. So I try to pick things with running that I don't necessarily enjoy. Like right now I'm on a heavy regimen of like doing uphill sprints 3 times a week on the treadmill, like a minute 30 on, a minute 30 off, 30 seconds on, 30. It's like kind of freaking my body out with sprints because sprinting is one of the best ways when you do hill sprints to naturally raise or maintain your testosterone. So go back to like the puzzle of it. My regimen is I try to eat something as close as it was to the ground. So like is it an animal? Is it a plant? Is it something? Think of it like, what's a bad analogy? Let's say you're in the market of buying drugs.
Yeah.
Probably want to get as close to the source as possible.
Yeah.
Food, I try to get from the most natural, close to the ground or the source place. My workouts, I want to work out for 30 to 45 minutes and get my heart rate up. And then I want to do cardio and get my heart rate to a zone 4 or zone 5, like hard, like you're sweating, you're breathing, you're drooling, you're going hard. Anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes, and I want to do that, a mix of them, at least a minimum of 5 times a week. I know that if I don't do that, I'm going to feel a certain way, and I know if I do that, I'm going to feel a certain way, so I go for the latter of the good feeling of doing the work.
How about sleep for you? What's that look like? Are you pretty diligent about keeping a similar sleep schedule, or?
As, you know, I try to follow the people that know what they're talking about, the Harvard, the Stanford doctors, and Huberman is a great resource, Andrew Huberman, for anyone that doesn't know or follow. Just like the business guys, if they're doing something, I want to figure out how to do it. Well, if there's the doctors putting out the content, I want to try to do that. The sleep studies over the past year and a half with the Oura rings and the whoops and that type of stuff, I gave up my trackable because it was like fucking crack to me. I'm waking up in the morning, what was my sleep score? Do I feel good right now? Instead of being like, oh, I just woke up, how do I feel? Sleep, if you follow the studies, people should be getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And I think all of us business owners, entrepreneurs can relate to operating off less sleep, more caffeine, more, get me going stuff. When the research is, if you look at your circadian clock, and heating your body up and cooling it down throughout the day, you can make decisions during the day in your eating and your behaviors that will lead to better sleep. And what I find is I operate better off. I'm like a 6 to 7 hours is what I try to go for. Yeah. But there were chapters in my life where I was living the 4 to 5 hours thinking I'm grinding. And it's like, no, dude, you're just depleting your tank.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have somebody send me like, there's people in the industry and clients and stuff like that. We all kind of get this like hustle mentality happening. And
we're contagious.
Like, we're proud of each other. We're proud of ourselves. And so sometimes I'll get a picture from somebody, it's like be on the holidays and somebody will send a picture of them like working at like 1 a.m. and they're like, this year's going to be awesome. And they're like, and I get you're excited. Yeah. But there's also like an element of like, I'm not like super proud of you for being at 1 a.m. like at work. Like, I think that there's a wholesome pride in working a lot, and then there's like a toxic. There's a level where it can become toxic. Particularly, I think where it's toxic is when we're saying everyone else should be doing this or you're a piece of shit. You shouldn't be taking a holiday off.
Grind shaming.
Yeah.
I think that entrepreneurship is lonely. And I think that at times when we're doing something that not many people in our life that we grew up around can relate to, we want other people to share it with. Yes. And I think for a long time, depending on like the phases of influencers you're in, when you get into the Gary V's, the Grant Cardones, and it's that hustle grind mentality, I think that's chapters or phases in business and life. I think as you're definition of success evolves, what you define as how you spend your time. I mean, fair to say as another business owner, like what was success when you first started Hook versus where you're at
I was
now?
very proud of myself for being like, I remember being in this office 5 years ago and like hearing people partying on Friday night, and like I was like so proud of myself for being a Friday night. I'm sitting here, I'm working.
Yeah.
So, and I had to do that. Like there's times, and yeah, I get what you're saying. There's times where you have to do that.
I think it goes to like, what are your expectations of yourself? And then like, what are you looking for? Not that like, oh, we post that we're up working at 1 a.m. to get attaboys, but it's nice to have people like to relate to going through those things. I think that for me, for my phase in my life right now, I've been in business, different companies and stuff for 15 years. I have 5 kids. I've been in a relationship for 14 years. The things that I do or spend my time on are just a little bit different than they were 3 years ago and 7 years ago and 15 years ago. And I think the way I look at the work ethic of a business owner, depending on your seat in the company, like your seat's probably different in the company than it was 5 years ago. I work the best on the weekends. I go on like deep dives where I might work on between a Saturday and a Sunday. Sometimes I might work for no time over the weekend. But when I have projects going in different things, like 2 weekends ago, I probably worked for 20 hours. And so like, is that something to be celebrated? I enjoy it. Like I really like when I'm interested in something and I'm diving deep and I'm going through it. But I think that there's a level of accountability of...
Maybe I turned this up too much.
Are you getting
I'm just...
You're holding a key.
One second.
Remind me.
Let's
On note...
The side effects of NAD.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One of the notes is like, Dave's quicker about this, which is it's uncomfortable if you're doing NAD and you do it really quick.
Right?
It's
I
uncomfortable.
open it to go
Yeah,
up.
but you're not supposed to have it stronger.
Why
It's
not?
the way your body absorbs it. So if you feel all that stuff
Like
happening,
cookies.
it's like exciting for you because you're like, yeah, my body's
I'm
taking
doing it.
But in reality, your little cells are like, what the fuck is going on?
Because it's doing the...
circulating. So
Got
let
it.
them slowly get the goods and feel all plump and happy, and then you feel Superman.
One thing that I'm not that great at is being patient, and
Patient?
it's something
No.
I work on
Okay.
every day.
Yeah, so like I know you want it like feels like instant gratification.
I'm doing something
Yeah.
hard,
You're
so it's
going
good
like
for
the
me.
Hulk when you feel it going
Yeah.
down.
Yeah,
But really your body's like, whoa.
Going through
This is
the
some
motions
serious
of it,
stuff.
sure.
So it's not.
Yeah.
We'll get you there, Clark.
Got it.
I promise.
One thing I'm doing right now is 75 hard. Have you ever done that?
I've explored it, and I like started it once for a week, and I was just like, I compare it to, I was going to start training for a triathlon.
Yeah.
And then I got the training regimen, I did it for a week, I was like, man, I don't have time for this right now.
It's very time consuming. That's the one thing I would recommend. Like if you're about to do 75 hard, like make sure it's not in a super busy season of your life. And like as an entrepreneur.
But I think I'll give the opposite side of that sword. I think the reason people have success with 75 hard is because it's a pattern interruption that develops habits.
Yeah.
The reason that it's laid out the way that it is it's putting someone that usually coming into it isn't like got a super regimented day, or because like go back to I forgot what it is, 100 hours or 100 days, whatever that is, but like to develop a habit and have it be consistent. I compare 75 hard to EOS.
Yeah.
Because the beautiful thing to me about EOS, being a business owner that's owned a couple companies but has had EOS implemented over the past 2 years in the company with Dope, where I spend the majority of my time, is like the reason I love EOS is the reason I love the idea of 75 hard.
Yeah.
Because there's a structure there, but true success in that structure, you can make it your own. Like we follow EOS, but it's Dope's version of EOS. And I think something really cool about 75 hard is like there's some really good stuff in there. And I think if I were to do it, I'd want to be like with a group of people. I love the community aspect of 75 hard.
75 hard it's one workout, 45-minute workout, one additional one outside, 45 minutes.
You have to do 2 workouts a day. One's outside.
Yep. And then
10 pages of a
gallon
book.
of water.
Yep.
10 pages of book.
Picture.
I think that's and follow a diet, no cheat meals.
Follow a diet. Yeah.
Whatever your diet is. The reason it hasn't been that hard it's always hard. Like, it's just annoying to do the second workout outside and all that. Right now, I just
especially in Minnesota, I'm sure it's
been
fun.
taking walks, but I think that the reason it hasn't been as hard for me this time is like my diet was just 200 grams of protein. Like, I was just trying to get
Plowing. That's hard though. I couldn't eat. I could.
I've been taking Core Power Elites. Like, it's like 42 grams a piece.
The ones
I down like
that's
3
good.
of those, and it's like, all right, 2 regular meals, and I'm fine. It's kind of like a cheat code.
That is a way to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so I was just wanting to share one of the challenges that I'm like a challenge thing. I know that you've gone on a lot of adventures and done challenges, including masterminds with people. Jesse Itzler's is one of them.
Yeah.
You've had some other ones that you've done in the past. Yeah. What's the, and I want to hear about the challenges too, and like the
but the mastermind part first,
sport things a little bit too. But what about like masterminds? What ones have you been part of that don't really work as well, and what ones do you think work the best?
I want to speak about it more conceptually, because I think for any group that I've been a part of, I've taken very good things from, and then there have been things like that I wouldn't really want to do over again. And I'll compare it to like parenting. Is like, you grow up a certain way, you see some certain stuff, and then as a parent, you're like, I'm going to try to do these parts differently. So I was very fortunate to get handed off a mastermind group that I was in the past 2 years that me and a friend and a business partner of mine had taken over. And we learned a ton from Jesse's group, and now a lot of the same people that are transferring over into this new group. It's like we've learned a lot from the activities and the community and what that group was about. And then there were some other things where like, we just want to do this thing a little bit differently. And so I'll rewind. I got big into like mastermind groups and really like even just giving myself the permission to be mentored probably about 5 years ago into my 15-year career. And I think that for masterminds, it's a big part about who the figurehead of it is, like who the person is, because that's what they're going to attract, like versions of that are leading towards this person running the thing. I was able to see different definitions of what I thought success was then, like on a financial level. But then I was like, oh, these guys have private jets. They got to be successful. I'm like, oh, wow, I got to know that person. They're not very happy. I don't really want, I would trade the private jet for happiness any day. And so
I was about to say, so you know who he's talking about because you know the guy with the private jet that has the mastermind, but then that's probably
but
like,
there's a bunch. No, I'm not talking about
50 of those.
Yeah, I'm not talking about anyone specifically with that analogy. I think it's more like there are people with money, let's just call it. Take the jet analogy out of it. But people with money that you just get to a certain point, I think that when you reach a level of financial success, you're just giving yourself full permission to be every part of yourself, because no longer can anyone tell you to do anything that you don't want to when you get to whatever point that is. I think that from some of the first groups that I was in, I got a really good sight of like how to expedite some stuff financially. Just like people that are really smart, that are really talented, whether it's like marketing or sales or coaching or any of it, that are just doing some things inherently right. I think that when some of those groups get to a certain size, it's hard to police a little bit like what's going on within the group. And I experience some good and some bad with that. And I think that like with everything in life, like a win is a win and a loss is a lesson. And so when I see groups of people getting together, one piece of advice I would give for anyone is like, give yourself permission to make a financial like decision that maybe you're not super comfortable with, just to get in a room full of people that are comfortable making that decision, that are just there because it's affordable to them. Like just get in that room.
Yeah.
Then you can see like, how are people operating? How are they running their businesses? How are they living their life with their families? And then you can kind of learn from people that are just like a couple steps ahead of where you want to go to expedite what's your next chapter, what's your next journey. And so I think one of the biggest things that I've been able to take from spending over 5 years, it's been into the 7 figures. Like I'm not saying tens of millions, but like I've spent over $1 million on coaching and masterminds and that type of stuff. And I think that one, you got to give yourself permission to say like, I can be in these rooms. Like these people, whether they're at where I'm at right now, or they're just going where I'm going, like I have a chair in that room also, because then you'll meet different people that are just doing different shit. For instance, like if I would have never gotten involved in Jesse's group, I wouldn't be sitting here today doing IVs and talking about wellness stuff, because that just wasn't a part of my life at all. But I was introduced to people that I, like, at that point in my life, defined as what they were doing was successful to me. And then I just started asking questions. Like, what are you doing? What are you up to? When you don't have anything to do, what are you spending your time on?
That's a funny question because it happens more and more, like, in certain times of entrepreneurship. To be able to take days off from your work
What
and
time
to
is-
actually do whatever.
What time is it right now? Like 11 a.m., 12 a.m., 12? Yeah. I thought my
Jamie,
my watch is still
pull that up.
my watch is still on East Coast from PR. I didn't think it was that late. The
Jamie pull that up joke is never gonna get old to me.
Ever.
I'm gonna
Pull it up.
I'm gonna do that all the time. Sorry, Jack.
When you think about, like, being able as a business owner to do a podcast at noon, knowing we might be here for 2 hours because this takes a while, it's like, if that's not one of the versions of success, what is?
It's fun.
And I think, like, there's a saying that I like, it's one thing to, like, stop and smell the roses, but sometimes you just got to realize the flowers are growing. Like, there's good shit going on that you can take from. And so I think when you're looking at, all right, where do different people spend their time? Where do they spend their money? What are they doing with their families? I just like to learn from that shit because, I don't know, I got a couple good ideas and a bunch of bad ideas every day. If you ask questions, someone might get a good idea that you don't have to come up with yourself.
I dig it. What about the physical challenge side of it? Because I think that Jesse Itzler group, you guys did some kind of mountain climbing.
Dude, I like
expedition.
rappelled off of a cliff
Yeah.
last summer.
Okay.
And I've, like, slept in a tent 5 times over the past 2 years. I would literally have paid you 2 years ago to never have to be in a tent ever. I was never in a tent really before in my life up until I got around those people.
Yeah.
I've been in tents and yurts and fucking all types of weird shit.
Nice.
With some of the adventure side of the experience also came, like, some really hard shit. Like, dude, I climbed if anyone knows what a 14er is, it's the elevation is over 14,000 feet. And I did a 14er last summer. I did this.
Is this one where you actually have to, like, do the, like, anything with?
So they have
is it
ones.
just
They
a
have
hike?
ones that are like that. The first day, we got with this rock climbing, spurlunking. I forgot what that's called. And I put on a thing.
I think spelunking is inside caves.
Whatever the fuck it is, I was on some shit.
Yeah.
And they strapped the vest on me and they had me walk backwards off the side of a fucking cliff that was like way the shit you look over the side of a skyscraper and you're like, I'm not fucking with that. I got down and I jumped, rappelled down a thing. That was wild. And then the next day we did we started with 50 people. I was the 7th one up and the 4th one down, which was, like, nuts in itself because I didn't, like, super train for this or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was, I think it was 4.5 hours up and 4 hours down. I ended up, like, running down. So I was like, you get some of these, they call them false summits. So like, you're going up and you think you're at the top.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, there's the thing way over there, but that's not ours. People are like, no, this is just a stop point. You have to, you're like, fuck.
It's like the most useful analogy, right? Like
Yeah, false summit in life
Yeah.
and everything. But then you go down, and I remember going down, and I, like, of course, like, wore the wrong shoes. They're giving me shit. I bought these, like, white Nike trail shoes. I'm like, Nike, we're going on a trail. Nike knows how to do this. Let's do it. And everyone's giving me shit. Like, Dave, of course you would show up in white fucking Nikes to do this. So I'm in these, like, really soft shoes, and my toes are, like, in the front of them. And when you're going down, I mean, you're going down this fucking thing. And I got an hour in, dude. I just wanted to cry. I'm like, where's the radio to call Arnold with the chopper to come get me? So I'm like, I look at my boy Stan. He's this patent attorney. Shout out Stan when you watch this. Stan's a patent attorney down in LA. And I remember looking at Stan. I'm like, I'm running. He's like, go. And I was just like, I need to get off this fucking mountain. I don't want to be here anymore. And like other things in life, whether it's like a physical adventure, a mentally hard thing you're going through, a relationship, whatever, it's like when you go to that point of doing some hard shit and you get to that moment where you want to stop, you want to give up, you have to have a difficult conversation with an employee, you have to talk to your spouse about something with one of your kids, you're running far and you're just like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore, I want to stop. You're in the sauna and it's so hot, you're like, I want to get out right now. that time, your mind goes to a place you go, I can get here anytime. The cold plunge, the 15-minute cold plunge we did or whatever. Every fucking second that goes by after that you're doing something that you don't want to, you're growing, you're building. And so whether it's like turning the thing up really hard and getting the feeling, or it's finishing the run with a sprinter, it's doing the thing, it's like, I have this fucked up part of my brain that goes like, the more difficult this is and the more time I can spend in that part when I want to quit, it's building me up that I can just go harder to do anything. When I want to stop that run, I just relate it to like, I don't want to finish this work. Or when I don't want to do this, it all adds up to that piece of that puzzle where it's like, I made a commitment to myself a couple of years ago that it's my responsibility to be the best version of myself. And when I ask these questions and when I get around other people that are just doing things that I look up to, that I admire, that I think are dope, that I think are just something that I want to emulate more, I just turn on that part of my brain that I go to like, let's just go to this fucking pain cave because I know when I get out of this, I'm going to be better.
I told you that whole shark story, right? I swam with sharks. I tell you
I
that?
haven't done that yet. I don't want to.
Yeah. So I did
This is a thing with Eric.
With Cam and I,
yeah.
Their mastermind is called Cult Culture.
Yep. They just finished the second one, right?
Yeah, they just finished it, and Ty Cobb Backer's flying up here for our event tomorrow, which is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
But just the brief, I didn't tell you the story. I feel like I tell it to everyone. But anyways, so I
feel left out.
I didn't know a month before I was going on it. They gave me the trip, like just to be nice. And and it was like, oh, I've got to do that. But I had to learn how to scuba dive in a month. So I really quick learned how to scuba dive. The second time they brought us down the boat, first of all, the first day I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This is crazy. This is hard. Second day they brought us down in an area with sharks. And so behind me, they're all looking at me, and we were trying to do like tests. Like you had to like take off your mask and stuff like that. But they're like in 10 feet behind me, there's a fucking shark. And
I'd rather sleep in a tent.
And I was already dealing with a lot of anxiety. Like they had like pulled me down, like to get down there. They had literally said, you have to go. Like it's time to go. And like if you swim up really fast, your lungs will pop.
Yeah.
So I had to that was like the mountain climb vibe for me, because I was like fucking, I had to turn around and I had to pretend like the shark wasn't there, because I had to like almost disassociate in my mind to be able to continue. But the best part about scuba diving, and I actually highly recommend it, even though this was insane, maybe don't go to sharks first, but it's the fact that you have to calm yourself down. Like as you go under, and I feel like that's such a big analogy too, is like learning how to calm yourself down when it's like very difficult. And so much of entrepreneurship is like that. And if you flail and if you try to run up, try to like swim up really quick, you could burst your shit. Like, so learning how to just chill out a little bit, even though it's really hard and it looks scary.
Yeah.
I think that was like that's the closest thing I have to that. And I'll forever stick with me. I don't know if I'll scuba dive again. I will say I'm a little mad that they brought me down to sharks the second time I ever did it.
That's part of it. I mean, dude, you're getting in the fucking ocean in their world. What do you expect is going to happen? Like,
they brought us to an area where they're like, we hope to see sharks. It was crazy. But then there's these beautiful things down there. Like once I got used to it, like you're swimming through coral reefs and you're swimming around these giant, beautiful fish. It was incredible. But God, that was a fucking wild, but that was a mastermind, you know what I mean? And like
doing some shit you wouldn't otherwise do with people you wouldn't be around to have an experience.
I like these peer group things. And I think that's
important,
like, because a lot of people in the roofing industry and the home services industry in general, like rip on coaches.
That's because they're scared to be coached and they're scared to get better.
That's true. But I'm just saying this is a way around it too, of like, get part of a mastermind then. If you don't think coaches are good, like if you're a hater on gurus, just go be part of a mastermind. Like you don't have to, you can learn from your peers. Like peer groups are the way to, like, if you think every coach is like a scam artist or something. A lot of people do.
You got to look in a mirror if you feel like that, though.
Yeah.
So one of my mantras of last year is, it still is, I'm going to say it is, to have control, real control, is to give up all control. And so go to that moment in the water with the sharks. when it's the breathing, when it's figuring out how to calm yourself down, when it's just interrupting a pattern. If you are naturally a person that is reactive, that goes to a place of anxiety, depression, anywhere in between with those emotions, and you can just hold yourself responsible to catch that pattern and be like, man, I feel the ginger ale bubbling up. I'm going to catch that. I'm going to hold myself accountable if that's how I feel. Give myself a pat on the back for recognizing that. It allows you to give up control. So when you think about these emotions, let's go two that are very familiar to people, especially entrepreneurs. Anxiety is living in the future. You're thinking about something that hasn't happened yet. And depression is living in the past. You're thinking about something that happened previously that you're reflecting on, going to like a negative space. The act of giving up control is simply the act of holding yourself accountable to be in the moment, to interrupt the pattern. When your mind, when your body, we know these things are connected. When your mind goes to a place and says, I'm thinking about this thing that hasn't happened yet, and I'm trying to work through the situations. Life is chess and not checkers. So if I think through everything that could happen, I'm preparing myself. I don't know if anyone else has used that excuse before, but when I would obsess about things, I'd say, oh God, I know I'm getting all worked up, but if I just think through everything, then I'm going to be prepared for what happens. Well, you're just making up a bunch of shit that hasn't happened yet and putting energy in the world to manifest something that would be more likely to happen just because you invested energy into it. And if you go to like, what is real control? We all want to control a situation. Controlling a situation is understanding the pattern that you're in right now and being in the moment and knowing that if I'm not overthinking something and going to a level of anxiety, if I'm not dwelling on, oh, this happened before, or I got fucked over, or this is how it went previously, and like dwelling, like going to that energy, if you can simply say like, in the moment, I'm going to be in the moment right now, here with my friend Tim, getting this IV and putting all the energy, I've now given up control. Not that I'm like, oh, I gave up control, anything could happen, I have to deal with it. But I know right now the energy I'm investing is in this moment. And it allows you to take these practices, whether you're climbing a mountain, diving with sharks, sleeping in a tent, doing a plant medicine journey, whatever it is, you're picking up tools to be in the moment so that you can give up control, because then whatever happens, you invested that time right there. You're as present as possible to be as in control of what's going to happen, because you've held yourself accountable for the planning that it takes for things to go the way you want them to.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a uniquely challenging time in culture and technology, really, because of we're constantly called, our attention is constantly called to elsewhere than we currently are, because we have these little computers in our pockets that are so fucking powerful and so interesting, and they've given us a lot of opportunities that aren't in that moment with each other right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very odd... Honestly, my ADD or whatever it is, like, interestingly, like, podcasts are a weird way for me to stay, because I'm not usually, like,
grabbing your phone, doing your shit,
it's
like,
just
whatever.
interesting
Sure. Yeah.
how that is kind of... There's. Do you feel like you have ADD or something like that, or do you not believe in that?
I mean, like, my oldest son just got diagnosed with ADD.
Yeah.
I'll go back to like studies now versus when we were in high school. They tested me for ADD between 7th and 9th grade 4 times, and they said I didn't have it. Anyone I've ever met will be like, you have ADD. I'm like,
not technically, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I do not have diagnosed ADD. I think that the people I do know that have diagnosed ADD, I have those tendencies, but yeah, I think we all are fucked up in our own ways. Put a fucking acronym to it. Like,
yeah. That phone thing, though, like, talk to me, like, do you have an issue with, like, phone addiction and stuff? Like,
I'm right-handed.
Yeah.
My left pinky from holding my phone is fucking swole. Like, buff as shit. Look at it. Look at that motherfucker. It's huge. Yes, I am a worker.
Yeah.
I have a computer accessible to me all day that a lot of times I'm using in my hand.
Yeah.
Pattern interruption for me, a big part of it is when I grab my phone and I go to social media and it's part of my pattern interruption during the day. I'm like, what the fuck am I looking for here?
Yes, there's nothing there.
There's a lot there.
Well, there's
it's fucking interesting.
A couple likes.
But
For Dave, it's like 17 likes, but for me, it's 2. So
I might get 2 or 3.
yeah.
I think that I have an addictive personality. Yeah. I like to do the things I like to do.
Yeah.
All the time when I want to.
Yeah.
And I believe that the phone for me, I am on the higher end of the spectrum of someone that goes to their phone for a dopamine hit often.
Mm-hmm.
One of my things for this year is just being more conscious of when I pick this thing up, what is my intention before I hit my unlock? I turned my face unlock off, so I have to punch in the code to unlock my phone. And it puts me in that moment of accountability of like, what am I looking for? I'm very regimented with my calendar. And I have times in the morning for anyone that I'm connected with online, like just this year in January, we're only on the 16th? I've created a discipline of doing a post in the morning from something that I'm reading or I'm reflecting on, and then I engage with the comments, but I have a block on my calendar to do that throughout the day. And like with any, thing that you can identify that you want to maybe change a little bit, I've just tried to add a level of accountability or a discipline to that powerful little thing that we carry around all day.
We've got the attention economy, and the app makers know it, like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, which I'm curious.
Elon's about to swoop it.
Stay here.
Elon's
Probably it'll stay in
it.
some format.
Yeah.
And all the social media platforms, the little red dot, the little bell, all the different things that kind of grab our attention. That
you gotta turn them all off.
That
all notifications should be off on everything.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That attention economy, it's how do you think that's gonna evolve this next few years? You and I are both in the.
Am I allowed to turn this up a little more if I want to? Like, is it like by the rules? I mean, I signed my waiver,
a little
right?
too. Just a little bit, yeah. And then the attention economy is. How do you think that's going to evolve? Because part of me thinks like what you're talking about. There's going to be more. There's a little bit of a mental health crisis, if we're honest, with phones. Like there
always has been. It's just more apparent.
It's really obvious right now, and I feel like there's going to be more solutions for that. How do you think that might evolve over this next few years, as far as like parents getting involved with their kids being on? I mean, it's very easy, obviously. Like I have my kids too, and she likes the phone and watches stuff, So, but what I'm saying is like, what is it going to come to a head at some point, like based on like how much screen time we all have? I think mine's like at 6-7 hours a day. So.
Shit, dude, I'm up at 9 some days.
Yeah. And I mean, we're doing business on the phone, but then at some points it's not business, right?
So my opinion is, in a world where attention has a little less value, meaning it's just easier to get people's attention and it'll get diluted. But people are more opinionated every day because we are little fucking newscasters in our pocket. We get to share our opinion with a bunch of people we don't know and get a dopamine hit from someone telling us they agree with our opinion by hitting a button. Mm-hmm. That's not a world that our older brothers and sisters or our parents grew up in. Like it's new to us with the Oregon Trail and the first snake cell phone and that type of shit. And like, I think that because we live in a world of our opinion matters, I'm going to leave you a bad review, I'm going to share my experience, I'm going to like to a negative. It's not always, coming from, we do a good job at one of my businesses getting 10 to 15 reviews a day. Like we were very, very intentional on asking people about their experience.
Which company?
For Dope.
Dope, okay.
Yeah, we get a lot of reviews, but we focus on that.
Yeah.
And in that, one thing that I really pay attention to is that not only are people more opinionated than ever, because I can be sitting in Minnesota, I can share my opinion, and someone in Texas or Venezuela or Antarctica, I'm like, I don't like this. And people see it, they're like, me either. And I'm like, fucking right, I knew I was right about this. Mm-hmm. That mentality also goes into what I call like the Amazonification, DoorDashification. Like, I want this, I want to press a button, I want it now, and maybe I'm going to look at some reviews of some other people that did this, but I don't want to fucking wait. It's like two hoses spraying against each other for the person in charge of like delivering the result of that stuff. I believe being in the world of advertising, data, you know, attempting to educate people to make a buying decision, different touch points along the way no longer are the days of like shotgun popcorn marketing. I don't think people in roofing and the home service business should be looking at we live in the Twin Cities. There's 3.7 million people in a 7-county area here. I have a window cleaning company I've owned for 15 years. That means there are 3.7 million people that have windows, but they're not all my customers. So I shouldn't be investing minutes on educating them on the problems I solve when social media has taught us and shown us how easy it is to get a message out. I think that the intimacy, the making people feel that their opinion is heard and they're special by understanding, you know, the cliches of marketing is like, who is your perfect customer? But not your opinion on that. What is your customer database from last year and the people that buy from you? Just who are they? Where are their pockets of those people? And how do you focus on answering the questions, solving the problems, giving the attention, putting the things on people's screens, putting the things in people's hands? They're just more likely to need what you have. One of the stats I really like to lean on is that in any industry, it doesn't matter if you're doing IVs, if you're doing video recording, if you're selling marketing, 3 to 7% of your target ideal customer is actively searching for you right now, today. While we're recording this, while you're listening or watching this, 3 to 7% of the people that need your business are actively searching for you in some way, shape, or form right now. The responsibility you might not have known that you took on is that means 93 to 97% of people that are not actively looking for you right now, that are your perfect customer, don't know who you are, don't really care right now, you're not on the top of your list. So when you go to attention and social media and what you're putting in front of people or what you're digesting, as a business owner, or if you're an influencer, or you're trying to get a message out to the world, or you're in politics or whatever, it's like the job in 2025 and moving forward is not how do you get everyone to hear about you. It's how do you understand those 93 to 97% of people that are more likely to need the problem you solve, and how are you making them feel heard? How are you making them trust you? How are you becoming an expert in a space where when someone is going to find 3 companies in order to make a decision, you're at least in the running to do that? And I think this little fucker right here is still always going to be one of the best ways to do that. But it's getting people to raise their hand on that thing. And then it's our responsibility to continue to understand the best practices of how to like get in front of or communicate with people that raised their hand on this thing in ways that are evolving more and more.
And like, you know, Seth over here, Dynamic Drips, and is my neighbor over in North Oaks. I don't know if you ever see his signs for Lion Share, which they do, because they put the signs around our neighborhood.
We try to put them coming out of like the daycares and stuff. So when you're doing parent pickup, you see the
little billboards method that you've pioneered here. Which I think is smart, and you found a way to get. I was just
smart. I mean, we have our moments.
I just saw another one like near our coffee place or whatever. I like that strategy. How do you think, like, compare that with like traditional billboards with me for a second? I know that
sure
we're just talking about attention and how to get it and how to do things a little differently. So, like your strategy, because I don't know that ever like a lot of people get signs from you guys. Yard signs. I know you guys do direct mail around job sites and stuff like that, but like the little billboards method, like I don't know that all your customers really take that to heart. That seems like something that you pioneered for your company. Do you see a lot of people copying you in that? I think it's very smart.
I live by the motto, every business owner should steal like an artist.
Yeah.
That you should be an artist. Doesn't look at a blank canvas and be like, shit, I got to think about something. They're inspired. They're inspired by something that happened in their life. They're inspired by a love that was lost. They're inspired by a poem or a tree or some shit.
Yeah.
I think that every business owner should be looking at what their competition, what people in other industries are doing and get inspired. Steal like an artist. Get some shit to throw some paint at a canvas on. For me, one, we put out a yard sign playbook where I literally will give someone for free the exact strategy we use because I think it's important. I think you get blessings in life to share them. We figured something out. Everyone should be doing a version of what we're doing.
We can link below in the comments
Link
for that?
it. Yep, totally. We got an
Yard sign
updated
playbook.
2025 version
Sweet.
that actually has a coupon for yard signs in it.
Gangster.
Very gangster. I believe that the idea of tiny little billboards goes into that 93 to 97%. I believe that one of my things I've talked about for years, kind of like a broken record, is like the average local business. We did a case study at Dope. Average local business gets 2 to 4 touches on their ideal customer. Harvard Business School did a study, said at minimum, you need 7 to 11 touches for a cold consumer to remember a brand. And so the tiny little billboard strategy to me is like, you just gotta have people see you all the time because they're gonna remember it more. So when I think about something as simple as a yard sign, like a lot of home service businesses, like they pop them out around town in random places, or they put them in the yards of the jobs they're doing. Well, what if you thought about like, my perfect customer for my power washing and window cleaning company is someone who lives in North Oaks, who has a house over $750,000 and has kids. Where is the people? Usually we're dealing with the wife. Yeah. The wife is the one making the decision in the or one of the spouses is making the decision in the household. Where the fuck are they at all day? They're dropping the kids off. They're going to Pilates. They're going to Jamba Juice around these neighborhoods. So not only do I want a sign in the yard of the house we did a estimate or a job at, not only do I want them getting postcards and seeing Facebook and Google stuff in that neighborhood, but when they go to these other places, they're at home and they might be the 3 to 7% that's searching. Or they might be the 93 to 97 that I want when they do search in that area, but I want to think for them. I want to give them a reason to find us. So where can I put a brand impression? Go to our man, Dan Antonelli. If you were thinking, how do you get branded, not blanded? Well, I just want my logo or my brand or my services to be in a place where you're at. So if I think of a map of where the person who lives in this house, like where are they going during the day? Putting a billboard at every one of those spots would be fucking expensive. Yeah. Like I don't have Chris Lindahl money to just put them everywhere. I want to take a tiny little billboard that costs $4 to $7 and put it in the exit of where they're going. So when I'm sending the mail, when I'm running the ads, they're doing something else in their life where they're not as focused and they go, oh shit, I got to do that. Oh man, that's a reminder. Oh, that's a thing. And as much as I blush when you're like, oh, that's smart. I'm like, no, it's fucking common sense.
So the attention kind of offshoot that we just did there, I think complements our discussion about wellness. And what we're trying to do is be a little bit more present, a little bit more intentional about our lives. And adventures and wellness is all part of that. Yeah. I appreciate you being on. I know you shared the yard sign strategy. Do you want to just kind of recommend? I know that you have a resource for it. I think we'll throw that in the comments.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to kind of recommend for people if they were to start working with Dope Marketing? I appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast.
I always appreciate you having me, Tim. And I got an IV for coming through today. So we should do this more often. I think that when you look at whether you're heading into a new year, like we're filming this January 16th, or you're just looking at a phase in your business, maybe you're going into a new quarter. When you're trying to assess the things you want to do to grow your business, I think it's very important to understand like the different opportunities with the partners you work with. And with us at Dope Marketing, the things that we focus on really complement the things that you're already doing well in your business. So we're a marketing company. I promise we have ideas. But one of the things where we start with companies or partners that work with Dope is we identify what you're doing well and we try to help you do more of that in ways you're not doing it right now.
Awesome. And then I've seen the back end of your guys' product and the dashboard, like the ability to go in and do this to certain areas and be hyper focused on certain areas. It's very tech forward. It's a totally different strategy to direct mail than a lot of companies. So check them out and get plugged in, dopemarketing.com. And I appreciate everyone for watching. Podcast is put on by hvac.com, Hook Agency all over social. Appreciate y'all.